This is your Diamond Insight for tonight of the sad xenophobic attacks in South Africa. We do not believe that any South African above 50 years who has followed the country's politics would sink so low and become inhumane to attack other African nationals over the lack of jobs. In fact, we do not think that any South African who understands Africa's emancipation struggles can pick a stone and cast against any migrant worker on suspicion that they have come to take over their jobs. We might accuse those who are aged below 30 because they are ignorant rascals who do not know what other African countries did for South Africa to position itself on the path towards development. Of course, the post-apartheid children are willing to kill other African nationals knowingly or without knowing that their perceived enemies fought for their bread and butter and for their right to be treated as human beings. What those criminals attacking migrant workers should know is that before 1989, indigenous South Africans lived segregated lives where they never enjoyed schools with whites, their beaches, parks, and other public places. The forefathers of the people they are attacking fought tooth and nail for inclusive living in South Africa, where the blacks and whites would enjoy equal access to public facilities and the right to self-determination. The freedom fighters believed in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, or Ubuntu, as the South Africans themselves would say. Our fathers believed in the principle, advocated a political union of all the indigenous inhabitants of our continent. This is why we have seen an establishment of economic blocs such as the Southern African Development Community SADC, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa COMESA, and the East African Community and the Economic Community for West African States ECOWAS. All those have been spearheaded by the African Union, the successor of the OAU. The African Union has also been spearheading a one customs union and plans of introducing a single visa. Therefore, criminals in South Africa are working against the spirit of the forefathers, including Baba Madiba Nelson Mandela, who preached African unity. Even if the founding fathers did not preach Pan-Africanism, the world today has advanced in the wake of technology. South Africa cannot afford to trade within itself to the exclusion of neighbors and other countries, as trade happens in a global village. All countries have their own comparative advantage, and South Africa might not have all the resources needed at its disposal, so all economies are indeed interdependent. Those attacking foreigners in South Africa should be treated as criminals so that they do not hide in the name of nationality. South Africa must know that countries like Zambia are indeed their biggest by far trading partners in terms of intra-Africa trade volumes. The international community should take note that this is not the first time that foreigners are being attacked in South Africa, and we remember the gruesome pictures of 2008 as well as 2015. It would be wrong for the South African government to treat these criminals in their country with kids' gloves. The Rainbow Nation must demonstrate its spirit of inclusiveness, or Ubuntu, by decisively dealing with criminals who are propagating xenophobic attacks. Like we say, our opinion is merely but a perspective of how we view a glass to either be half empty or half full.